Florida Police Chiefs Association believes police chiefs should be above the law. The Florida Police Chiefs Association sent out a statement Tuesday about the fatal August 9 shooting of retired librarian Mary Knowlton by former Punta Gorda police officer Lee Coell, a situation the FPCA says it's been closely watching. Coell was charged with manslaughter and fired. Punta Gorda Police Chief Tom Lewis was charged with culpable negligence, a misdemeanor, and placed on paid leave. We are deeply concerned as to the implications this case could have for law enforcement leaders across the nation, FPCA Executive Director Amy Mercer said in the press release. Florida Police Chief Association Executive Director Amy Mercer. Mercer said the FPCA encourages all of our members to familiarize themselves with the facts of the case in keeping with our shared goal of protecting our officers and the citizens we serve. I spoke to Ms. Mercer Tuesday afternoon. I needed a bit of clarification about her comments. I wanted to know exactly what she and the FCPA were implying. Well, we're concerned about the potential for increased criminal liability for law enforcement managers, under circumstances that have been traditionally resolved in civil court, she said. Mercer wouldn't say whether she or her association believe the charges against Lewis are merited or whether she believes prosecutors overreached. I wouldn't say that. I have not had the opportunity to review the whole case, she said. This seems something out of the normal. I asked Mercer, twice, if she believed that in general, a police chief should be held accountable for the criminal actions of their officers. She dodged the question, twice. Again, I am not familiar with all of the details of the case, she said. We are, as stated, closely monitoring it and will continue to do so. Again, we are concerned about the potential for increased criminal liability for our police chiefs. I asked her if this potential for increased criminal liability for the chiefs would be a bad thing. She punted, again. I would have to review and look at the circumstances of each and every case, she said. Fine. Mercer told me she wants to make sure and encourage our chiefs and other law enforcement leaders to be aware of the facts of the case. On that we agree. Florida's 900 police chiefs and law enforcement executives should know exactly how Knowlton was shot to death at a training demonstration a Citizens Academy held for her and 30 other members of the Punta Gorda Chamber of Commerce. The chiefs should be aware that Coell loaded 148 grain wad cutters into his personal .38 special revolver, and that neither he nor the lieutenant who gave him the ammunition were smart enough to tell the difference between live rounds and blanks. Florida's top cops should know that Knowlton's husband Gary watched from just feet away as his wife was shot twice by Coell. One round struck her elbow, and the other perforated her aorta. The chiefs should know that no legitimate police department in the world points real guns at real people and calls it training. They should also realize that while there were no safety officers in place at the demonstration August 9, all it would have taken was for just one patrol officer to step up, call a ceasefire and bring this unbelievably stupid and dangerous idea to a screeching halt. The chiefs should know that their fellow FPCA member Chief Tom Lewis attended the demonstration. He was there, yet he too did nothing to prevent the carnage. I think the FPCA's message is crystal clear: they don't want their members held accountable for the actions of their officers, regardless of the severity of the misdeeds. In other words, the FPCA believes their members should be above the law. On that we disagree.
Remember the bank you used to know? We're Capital Bank, here for you with the personalized service that you deserve. Big enough to meet all of your banking needs. Small enough to help you reach your individual financial goals. We're your friends and neighbors. We're Capital Bank. We're here for you.
An event to show support for Punta Gorda Police Chief Tom Lewis turning into a confrontation after protesters showed up. A support chief Tom Lewis Group holding a fundraiser inside the Beef O'Brady's in Punta Gorda. Chief Lewis has been charged with culpable negligence after one of his officers shot and killed a woman during a Citizens Academy last year. 4 in Your Corner's Jillian Idle was at today's event and tells us those against the fundraising efforts weren't there for long before being shown the door.
To refuse service to anybody, and we are going to refuse service to anybody who's not supporting the cause that we're doing today, unfortunately. So
the owner of this Beef O'Brady's in Punta Gorda kicking 2 men out of his business Sunday afternoon.
We're not looking for any problems here. This is a positive message we're trying to spread here.
Inside the restaurant, a Keep Chief Tom group was holding a fundraiser to support the police chief's legal defense fund. A social media post by the group reads, "He needs a good lawyer to fight this unnecessary charge, and we want to help him raise the funds he'll need to win." The chief was recently charged with culpable negligence after one of his officers shot and killed a woman during a Citizens Academy last year. Chief Lewis has been placed on administrative leave while an investigation continues. Off camera, the Keep Chief Tom group says they were expecting protesters at their event. One member referencing a Facebook group called Charlotte County COPWATCH. Less than a day before Sunday's fundraiser, someone posted to the COPWATCH page asking community members to protest against the fundraiser, going on to say the group wants him fired and in jail for his crimes. As for the 2 men on Sunday who stepped foot inside Beef O'Brady's voicing their opposition, their protest was short-lived.
See, I don't know what your rights are to do whatever you want as Americans and all that stuff. I know my right as a business owner, I can refuse service to anyone. So.
Jillian Idle, Fox 4, in your corner.
How are we doing, Chief?
Good. I'm not consenting to you videotaping me or audio recording me.
You're not?
Nope.
Oh. Is this a public place?
As the owner of this establishment, Beef O'Brady's, I have the right to refuse service to anybody. We are going to refuse service to anybody who's not supporting the cause that we're doing today, unfortunately. So we're not looking for any problems here. This is a positive message we're trying to spread here. Obviously, I don't know what your rights are to do whatever you want as Americans and all that stuff. I know my right as a business owner, and I can refuse service to anyone. So I don't want you guys in my restaurant. I don't want you on my property.
How we doing, man?
Hey, we're good. Are you here for the chief?
Oh, I'd love to meet the chief. Is he here?
He's here.
Where is he at?
Socializing. He's over
Oh, there he is. How are we doing, Chief?
Good. I'm not consenting to you videotaping me or audio recording me.
You're not?
Nope.
Oh. Is this a public place? How are we doing, Chief? You don't want to talk to me about the fundraiser? Wow.
You guys here to patronize Beef O'Brady's as customers?
We're here for the event.
I'm the owner of Beef O'Brady's, so if you guys are here to participate in our fundraiser and sit down and have some food and enjoy yourselves, then you're welcome to. So
Okay. What's your name, buddy?
Make yourselves comfortable. My name's Chris.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
All right.
Any seats that are open, you're welcome to them. Grab a seat, make yourself comfortable. You're welcome.
I don't think he's going to let us stay very long there.
got something to drink?
No, we're good. We just want to toss that to the chief whenever he's ready.
That's up to him.
I just know what he's going to say.
Well, where's the lady from Fox 4, man? I want to go talk to her. Thanks, buddy. Hey, man. You're from Fox 4 and, like, you're doing Mr. Lewis today. Were you going to be asking him any questions or anything?
Asking him any questions?
Or are you just doing, like, video stuff?
I'm just doing video stuff. Why?
Well, I think that it's a fair question to him that when they go out and they arrest people and stuff, that that they expect them to pay their own bonds, hire their own attorneys and stuff like that. But like when he's in the hot seat, he wants the public to pay for his. I mean, how fair do you find that?
Well, as the owner of this establishment, Beef O'Brady's, I have the right to refuse service to anybody who refuse service. To anybody who's not supporting the cause that we're doing today, unfortunately. So we're not looking for any problems here. This is a positive message we're trying to spread here. Obviously, I don't know what your rights are to do whatever you want as Americans and all that stuff. I know my right as a business owner, and I can refuse service to anyone. So I don't want you guys in my restaurant. I don't want you on my property.
Is this all your property, or is that just Beef O'Brady's?
I lease from that yellow side right there to this door right here. It's my property.
Okay.
BOBPG LLC.
Let me ask you something, man.
I don't want to answer any questions for you. I'm not here to get into an argument either way with what you believe in and what other people believe in.
Just when we believe something different, we're not welcome at your business. Is that it?
Today you are not.
Is that it, man? Okay. I'll make sure to call Beef O'Brady's and I'll let them know that, man.
No service here, not on my property, or I will be forced to call law enforcement.
Well, you're obviously a cop sucker, so go inside, dude. Go call him. Sorry, man. You have a nice day.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and we're just making you aware that we are going to get a protest going against the fundraiser for Punta Gorda Police Chief Tom Lewis. They're doing a fundraiser for him at Beef O'Brady's in Punta Gorda tomorrow from I think 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. March 19th. And a lot of you guys have been watching the story. You've read all the reports over the months that we've been doing this. Punta Gorda is in Charlotte County, and you've seen that this guy is so out of control. He put me under investigation just because I wanted to do a protest at his house, which is completely illegal, completely legal, which is even in the Constitution. Apparently, he is not aware of the Constitution. But that is tomorrow, Sunday, March 19th. All your information is here. Keep the chief. Yeah, here it is. Protest against fundraiser for Punta Gorda Police Chief Tom Lewis, who want him fired and in jail for his crimes and take his pension. He cost the taxpayers $2,200,000. It's at Beef O'Brady's in Punta Gorda. We'll also hold a fundraiser for the chief. Oh my gosh. Here are the web pages and dates and times of Punta Gorda Police Chief Tom Lewis and the bootlickers are going to be, and ask them which family member will they sacrifice to be mauled, which family member will they sacrifice to be executed, all because Tom Lewis is a nice guy that doesn't give a Shiite, I have to write Shiite to make it legal, about the public, only their only thick blue line of corruption. And then of course this is their bullcrap here. That's the lawsuits are for overall. Cole has not received the same level of support within the community as chief of police, who supported the creative fundraiser for his legal fees on fundedjustice.com, Beef O'Brady's, because we're bootlickers and we're stupid and we don't care about you and your family or any of our family members, and that's why go to that page, the link is there, and tell all of them they are freaking nuts, and ask them which family member will they sacrifice to be mauled by a dog? Which family member will they sacrifice to be executed because of their stupidity? Be there Sunday the 19th. Beef O'Grady's and protest these idiots. He should be in jail, take his pension, take his license. He does not deserve it.
News is digging deeper into newly released documents about a deadly Citizens Police Academy shooting in Punta Gorda. It details what the Florida Department of Law Enforcement found after Officer Lee Cole killed Mary Knowlton in a shoot-don't-shoot scenario. Tonight, Wink News anchor Channing Frampton has more from Knowlton's son, and he also talked to a retired police chief about the effects this could have on the department. Channing.
Well, these are the documents the city released yesterday. There's a lot of them showing Officer Lee Cole used lethal ammunition instead of blanks. That mistake took Mary Knowlton's life, and now the department is paying the price along with her family.
It's really tough. I mean, it just seems very careless.
Mary Knowlton's son, Steve, talks about how his mom was shot and killed. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement says no one checked the bullets in Officer Lee Cole's personal gun, which he used in the incident last August.
Besides the fact that, you know, he was the one that pulled the trigger and loaded the gun and, you know, screwed up, the protocol was screwed up in the first place as far as using a real gun. Should never been a chance of anybody getting hurt.
Walter Zelisko is a retired police chief and used to train officers himself.
Well, I have 35 years law enforcement experience.
He says the findings in this report could have the power to change Punta Gorda's police department in big ways going forward.
The leadership has to take a strong role in examining their existing policies to ensure that in cases like this that there are safety issues that they're being addressed and corrected.
Zelisko says this is a wake-up call to law enforcement around the country.
This is happening not just in Punta Gorda, this is nationwide.
Now, Officer Cole is charged with felony first-degree manslaughter. Punta Gorda's police chief, Tom Lewis, is facing a misdemeanor second-degree culpable negligence charge and is on paid leave. Despite the findings and the charges, Steve says nothing will come close to fixing what he deals with every day now.
Nothing will bring my mom back, and I still stress that we you know, it's the hardest thing in the world is to forgive this, because I'll never see my mom again.
The city did make some changes following that shooting, including banning any real guns from use during training or community presentations. Chris?
Now to a Wink News investigation with the FDLE report coming out this week about the shooting of a retired librarian by a Punta Gorda police officer. The big question remains, how could this possibly have happened?
Wink News investigative reporter Dave Culbreth looks into this with a firearms instructor who says the #1 rule in gun safety was violated.
That is, you never, under any circumstances, loaded or not, point a gun at a human being.
That's what someone who's never touched a gun in their life would learn in the first 15 minutes of the first firearm class that they ever took.
Alex Dean is a firearms instructor who's testified on gun issues and has been certified as an expert by courts. He's read the FDLE's report and is appalled.
There is no circumstance whatsoever in which a blank would be loaded into a gun and the gun pointed at another person. And it's not always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction except when it's unloaded, or always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction except when you have blanks in it. There's no exceptions to that whatsoever, period.
The FDLE report says the shooting was an accident. Dean says, no way.
Is he trying to say that I unintentionally pointed the gun at this woman? Right? It was not deliberate that I pointed the gun at this woman. That was an absolute deliberate act that violates the single most fundamental rule of firearm safety ever.
The citizens at the incident got fake guns. Lee Cole used his own personal gun.
Why did they give the students the simunition guns that are not real firearms? Why would they do that? Because they knew that that's correct procedure.
He also thinks Lee Cole knew the proper procedure too.
He had on eye protection. He had his entire face covered in case the little paint cartridge struck him anywhere on his skin. He even had long sleeves on. Now, he made sure that he was okay and all geared up.
And what about the ammunition? Here, he describes the difference between a blank and a real bullet.
Bullet, case, powder, and primer. The blank cartridge has the case, powder, and primer, but no projectile.
The steel cartridge on the left is an exact replica of what killed Mary Knowlton. On the right is a blank, which Dean says comes only in brass, not steel.
Do you see any way where someone can confuse these two things, the blank and the real one?
No. To me, there's not any way. You could feel in your own hands. The weight is significantly different between the two.
It is.
Dean also says there's a big difference between shooting a blank and shooting a real bullet.
The recoil is significantly different, and anybody would notice that.
And Dean says about every rule of firearm safety was violated.
Did they do anything right?
They called the paramedics.
If you'd like to see more of this interview, go to winknews.com. Dave Colbreth, Wink News Now.
The cartridge is what's loaded into the cylinder. I have an oversized one here for sample. That's what you load into your firearm. Not bullets, but cartridges. Cartridges are made up of 4 components: case, powder, primer, and projectile or bullet. That makes an entire cartridge. Okay. Hand me that one in your hand. So this is an entire cartridge. The bullet's the top part.
Yes.
Now, what is shown in the report that was actually loaded into Mr. Cole's gun, the cartridges had what's a unique kind of bullet, and if you compare these two cartridges, these are called jacketed because they have a copper jacket. And you can see that the bullet extends past the case. Right here, these are called wad cutters. So it's still a lead bullet, but it does not extend past the case. It's pretty unusual that they would have that as live ammunition anyway, because the purpose of the wad cutter bullet, which is the top part that comes out of the cartridge, is mostly for competitive use. Let me turn it off. Mostly for competitive use because it makes a very, very clean hole in a target. It doesn't ripple the hole. All right. So that's why it's good for competitive use. That's what it's designed for, because then you can tell exactly where you scored.
Okay. So this is the entire. That's the
cartridge, and that's the cartridge.
Other ones look like this with the projectile sticking out.
That's
but
correct.
The particular one that he looks like that.
The ones that he loaded that he actually discharged 4 times were these. The CCI cartridges. That's the brand name, with wad cutter bullets.
And what's a blank look like in that same style? That's
yes. There's these. All 3 of these are different types of 38 special blanks. So if you go back to our original 4 components, bullet, case, powder, and primer, the blank cartridge has the case, powder, and primer, but no projectile. Now, that still doesn't take away from the fact that there is no circumstance whatsoever in which a blank would be loaded into a gun and the gun pointed at another person. If you look even in our room, every single poster that we have up here, always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. It's not always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction except when it's unloaded, or always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction except when you have blanks in it. It's always big, bold, capital letters. There's no exceptions to that whatsoever, period. It's the first one on all of them. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. So there's no circumstance, even with the blanks, in which it would be loaded into a firearm and pointed at a person, period.
So he used this. He should have used something like this. Is there a same color version of this?
Well, if you're asking if there's a...
I'm trying to
determine... If you're asking if there's... This is a steel case. This is a brass case.
Okay.
So if you're asking if there's a steel-cased blank, I've not seen one, But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that, no, there's not anything that he should have used. By the way, he knows this. Him and the chief so much as admitted that they know this. And that's because what they gave to the students in this scenario. Now, I'm not going to call it training because it wasn't training. When they were doing this little shoot, don't shoot entertainment scenario, why did they give the students the simunition guns that are not real firearms? They're only able to accept a specific type of cartridge that has a paint bullet in it. Why? Why would they do that? That right there shows that they knew exactly what is used for that scenario, because the second thing that they did is, if you look at Mr. Lee Cole, he had on eye protection. He had his entire face covered in case the little paint cartridge struck him anywhere on his skin. He even had long sleeves on. Now, he made sure that he was okay and all geared up. Why? And, you know, I keep going back to two things. I'm just going to read the Webster's Dictionary definition of accident here, because this is not an accident. An unfortunate incident that happens unexpectedly and unintentionally, typically resulting in damage or injury, or an event that happens by chance or that is without apparent or deliberate cause. So
why is this apparent or deliberate cause?
Is he trying to say that I unintentionally pointed the gun at this woman? Right? It was not deliberate that I pointed the gun at this woman. That was an absolute deliberate act that violates the single most fundamental rule of firearm safety ever. It's so fundamental that that's what someone who's never touched a gun in their life would learn in the first 15 minutes of the first firearm class that they ever took. So, and as far as picking out ammunition, that's again something that would learn, people would learn in the very first couple hours of their first firearm class ever.
Okay. Do you see any way where someone can confuse these two things, the blank and the real one?
No. To me, there's not any way, because again, even if somebody did make that mistake, if you look at the way the rules of firearm safety are listed, you don't have to violate 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. You have to violate every single one of them, and in a specific sequence, for an incident like this to occur. Because as you read along, know your target and what is beyond. So his target was Mrs. Mary Knowlton. I mean, he had to violate every rule of firearm safety. And it's not just the fact that, you know, well, the size might be similar or this or that. I even brought a scale here to show, and you can feel in your own hands. The weight is significantly different between the two.
It is.
And the key to me is the multiple shots fired. He fired 4 times. He fired 4 times. One round struck a metal car. If that round was the first, second, or third round, why did you not stop shooting? Because whether one of them struck the car or not, which again, to me, in the case, that's going to be the key. But whether one of them struck the car or not, you still have the issue that the recoil of the firearm is significantly different with an actual live cartridge than it is with a blank.
Is that right?
For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So from the force of the bullet going forward, the entire gun comes rearward. If there's a significantly reduced force going forward, then the gun doesn't come rearward, recoil. So the recoil is significantly different, and anybody would notice that. I could take somebody to the range that's not used a gun, and that's their first day, and put 4 cartridges in the cylinder, into the chambers, and 1 blank cartridge, and have them discharge at the target, and they'd immediately say, whoa, something happened. Did this misfire or what? They would notice a difference, because the recoil is
somebody
different.
Who hasn't even shot a gun before.
Hasn't even used a gun before. Because the second thing that's different is the report. The sound is different, because you don't have anything breaking the sound barrier. The average velocity on that .38 special bullet is faster than the speed of sound. So when there's no bullet and it's just got a minimal amount of powder and a primer, nothing's breaking the sound barrier. So the sound you hear is different, which we call the report, and the recoil is different.
Wow.
So again, why fire 4 times? And depending which shot hit the car, that's the ball game right there. These are blank cartridges versus live cartridges. You know what a live cartridge feels like. I think the fact that he was using his own gun, despite that being also a violation of every safety protocol that any department has for those types of circumstances, but you know, he discharges his own gun, practices with his own firearm, so he knows what a live cartridge feels like. He pressed the trigger 4 times. Again, the standard procedure, even in a class where nobody else has ever touched the gun before, I, as the instructor, stand up there, and I'll have the unloaded guns, the safe direction established, and multiple people check them, including the least experienced people in the room. And this is twofold. Number one, it's nothing like giving someone responsibility to make them responsible, but it also shows everybody that the instructor's not infallible either. So everybody has to double check everybody. And we always use people in the class to double check the instructors themselves. I'm definitely concerned. So everybody has to double check everybody. And we always use people in the class to double check the instructors themselves. I'm definitely concerned that it seems that no one knows the difference in the cartridges. You know, and again, this is where from day one I asked who else was there in the room when this happened, because I've counted about 14 specific failures from the top, meaning from Chief Lewis on down, including, you know, how everything was stored,
yep.
To the, you know, the specific firearms that were used, the different training guns, you know, the different equipment between the two of them, and also even a new thing that seems to have come out about how the person was chosen for this exercise. They're saying something about random name put on cards, things like that. Usually when we're doing exercises like that, and I'll give you a perfect example. When I did one with the Fort Myers PD in a Citizen Police Academy, it was put all the gear on and get to work with the German Shepherd police dogs, the canines. They do not pick someone to do that. They don't even pick at random like happened here. You always ask for volunteers, because you wouldn't want to put somebody in that circumstance. And even by doing it at random, people can think, oh, well, I have to do this as part of this class because the person in charge is the one that assigned me these cards. That's kind of a more minor issue, but it just shows that they didn't have any understanding of any of these exercises. And again, this was an entertainment exercise. It was not training. This was done for entertainment, okay? So, yeah.
Did they do anything right?
They called the paramedics.
Charlotte County Sun newspaper hammers Punta Gorda police again for the complete stupidity. They need to be defunded and shut down, or call in the feds like they did in Fort Myers police and do a full audit and investigation. And why isn't Katie Heck and the Charlotte County Sheriff Bill Prummell charged for giving him the bullets? Report sparks more criticism of Punta Gorda police. By Gary Roberts. Staff writer. Punta Gorda gun safety experts and enthusiasts are firing off criticism on the actions of police that led to a woman's death. In a report released this week by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, investigators found that Punta Gorda Police Department officer Lee Coell used his personal .38 caliber revolver when he shot and killed Mary Nalton, 73, during a police demonstration. Coell believed he was using blank firing cartridges, but instead was discharging live ammunition. The incident has embroiled the community, both for the tragic loss of the former librarian as well as the carelessness displayed by the officers, said Billy Carl, an NRA-certified firearms instructor who is qualified to teach armed security guards. They made a lot of mistakes that they shouldn't have made, he said. It's almost unbelievable that law enforcement can make mistakes like that. The FDLE report identified PGPD Lieutenant Katie Heck as having given Coell 3 boxes of ammunition stored at her home, saying she thought 2 boxes were filled with blank firing cartridges. COL kept those boxes in his patrol car for weeks before the shoot-slash-don't shoot exercise was staged outside the Punta Gorda police station on August 9. "I can't believe they stored the blank rounds with the live ammo. That's just stupidity," Carl said. "That kind of mistake is inexcusable. It was so unfortunate, and totally preventable." Carl also took issue with the gun training that took place at the Citizens Academy. In any classroom setting, he said there should only be one lead instructor, who without fail would check the gun before the program started. At the demonstration, several Punta Gorda officers were present and apparently providing instruction. "They called it a class, it's not. It's theater," he said. "There was no training going on there. In training, there's no room for error." Carl added that the series of blunders should cost the police chief his job. Local attorney Scott Weinberg also called for Police Chief Tom Lewis to be terminated. "I can't understand how everyone there was so irresponsible," he said. "The fact that people are protesting for the chief to keep his job is, frankly, disgusting." Chief Lewis has been criminally charged with culpable negligence, a second-degree misdemeanor. COL, who was fired March 10, pleaded not guilty to the first-degree homicide charge of manslaughter with a firearm. An internal investigation by the city of Punta Gorda will determine if Lewis, who is currently on paid leave, will face further disciplinary action within the department. Weinberg bases his harsh judgment of the chief, in part, on his own prior knowledge of COL. In October 2015, K9 officer COL loosed his police dog on a man who was stopped for riding his bicycle at night without lights. Richard Schumacher, who later pleaded guilty to DUI and resisting an officer without violence, was seriously mauled in the incident and taken to the hospital, where he spent nearly 2 weeks undergoing surgery and treatment. Weinberg represented the 25-year-old victim in a subsequent lawsuit, reaching a $70,000 settlement with the city. The attorney also was aware that COL was forced out of the Miramar Police Department before he could complete his probation period in 2013, after 2 excessive force complaints were filed against him. He was hired by the PGPD in March 2014. Weinberg said he warned Chief Lewis more than a year ago that he had a dangerous cop on the force. "What I really wanted was for that officer to be off the street," he said. In addition, Weinberg, a lifelong NRA member, condemned the disregard for safety exhibited by police officers during the police demonstration. He said he cannot fathom how Officer COL loaded his revolver with lethal .38 caliber HBWC hollow-based wad cutter ammunition instead of blank firing cartridges. "It's very simple for regular citizens to tell the difference between a wad cutter and a blank, let alone a police officer," he said. In the FDLE report, law enforcement personnel told investigators that COL did test fire his ammunition on multiple occasions. Charlotte County Sheriff's Office Deputy Sean Davali said he participated with Officer COL on 2 separate training events within the past year. Davali said he was present during one K9 training session, where Officer COL fired his handgun down the CCSO gun range and at the top of the berm. At the time, no one noticed that a bullet may have struck the ground. After the shooting death at PGPD, CCSO K9 Deputy Justin Gilmer stated he saw dirt fly up where COL was pointing the firearm both downrange and at the top of the berm, Davali said. Weinberg said firing the weapon at a piece of paper laid on the ground would have demonstrated to everyone that they were dealing with real bullets. "The worst thing about this whole tragedy is that it was preventable," Weinberg said. "If just one person in the chain of command did the right thing, it doesn't happen. It's a systemic failure on so many levels." Email, groberts@sun-herald.com. COEL. What a joke. The Punta Gorda Police Department is the Chief of Police Tom Lewis incompetence is why Mary Knowlton is dead. He kept Lee COEL on after he let his dog maul a man for no light on his bike. Then Katie Heck gave supposedly blanks to Lee COEL that they got from the Charlotte County Sheriff Office. This whole county is corrupt and stupid to the core. Defund it all. Call the feds in to audit them both like they did in Fort Myers. Knowlton's report confirms police incompetence. By Rusty Prey, Sun correspondent. In the minds of Gary Knowlton and his son, Steve, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement report on the death of Mary Knowlton confirms incompetence and raises questions. In an interview Thursday, the two men expressed anger, frustration, and sadness over the circumstances that resulted in Mary being shot to death by Punta Gorda police officer Lee Coel on August 9 during a civilian procedural demonstration. In its summary, the report concluded it is apparent that OFC Coel's, and others, inability to differentiate between blank cartridges and lethal bullets resulted in Mary Knowlton's death. Mary, 73, was a retired librarian and an active, beloved figure in the Punta Gorda community. She and Gary, a retired CPA, were Punta Gorda Isles residents. Coel used his personal revolver, a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson, in the shoot/don't shoot Citizens Academy demonstration. He used ammunition he had retrieved from his car, where he kept boxes of both blanks and live bullets. The bullets were supplied to him by Lieutenant Katie Heck, according to the report. There's no protocol as far as checking the gun? Why did he even have a real gun? Steve said. The state attorney's office in February charged Coel with manslaughter with a firearm, a first-degree felony. He has since been fired by the city. He has entered a not guilty plea to the criminal charge. Punta Gorda Police Chief Tom Lewis has been charged with culpable negligence, a second-degree misdemeanor. He is on paid administrative leave, pending an internal affairs investigation. Lewis has pleaded not guilty to the charge. Coel faces a maximum of 30 years in prison, Lewis, 60 days in the Charlotte County Jail. I guess in a way I'm glad the report was made public, because it shows these people far worse than I even thought they were, Gary said. They took some old shells out of somebody's closet. Heck, she probably didn't even know what they were. Then she gives them to Coel a few weeks before the shooting. It was total incompetence. According to the report, Heck said she probably had given Coel the live ammunition made by Blazer, thinking they were blanks. She had gotten the bullets from her home. Blazer does not manufacture blanks, according to the report. According to the report, during the demonstration, Coel, the bad guy in the scenario, fired 4 shots, striking Mary twice in the abdomen and arm. She died a short time later. The Punta Gorda Police Department did not have a policy in place on where officers were to aim a gun during a demonstration, the report said. The whole thing was like a free-for-all, Steve said. When I first spoke about it, in August, and I didn't know all the facts about Coel, I talked about forgiveness. I still have to forgive him. But I compare it to somebody who drinks down a whole liter of vodka and decides to get in their car, and goes and kills somebody. Sure, they didn't intend it. But they were careless as hell. And they have to be accountable, and they need to pay for it. You don't just carelessly use your own gun and old bullets. If it were me, I would have quit that day and never had a gun near me. It was like the Dark Ages, Gary said. The men wonder why Heck was not charged. The only thing is why Katie Heck isn't being charged, Gary said. It just seems like she had some responsibility. In an interview with The Sun Thursday, 20th Judicial Circuit State Attorney Stephen Russell said the state attorney's office does not intend to press charges against Heck. We reviewed the matter and looked at all the statements and made the appropriate charges at that time, Russell said. Heck remains on active duty as the PGPD Public Information Officer. On Thursday night, Heck was scheduled to present a gun safety program at the Punta Gorda Isles Civic Association. We have to live with this for the rest of our lives, Steve said. We just want the people responsible to be held accountable. Staff writer Gary Roberts contributed to this report. A portrait of Mary Knowlton and her husband, Gary. They retired here in 2001. File photo.
Gorda released FDLE's report without the consent or knowledge of the state attorney's office. As Wake News investigative reporter Dave Culbreth explains, the state attorney says the report should not have been made public because it's still an active criminal investigation.
This letter, dated March 3rd, which was sent with the FDLE's report, clearly says the report should not be released to anyone. Specifically, it said it was sent to the city of Punta Gorda with the understanding that you will utilize it for the purpose of your administrative/internal review and investigation. And the entire content of this report contains active criminal investigative information, which retains its exempt status, according to Florida's public records laws, and that its content is exempt from disclosure to the public. Then yesterday, after the city of Punta Gorda released the FDLE report anyway, the state attorney's office sent out this press release saying it provided the documents from one law enforcement agency to another for law enforcement purposes only. And we are aware that the city of Punta Gorda, through their hired public relations firm, Bulldog Strategy Group, has widely disseminated the case and substantial parts of the reports. Regardless of this action, the state attorney's office will endeavor to properly litigate these cases in the criminal justice system.
The spokeswoman at that PR firm told Wink News that over the weekend they saw on the clerk of court's website that discovery had gone out. And the state attorney's office said once it goes out, it becomes public record. So they went ahead and released it. The spokeswoman for the state attorney's office responded to that by saying, the press release and the letter we sent out yesterday speaks for itself. Dave Culbreth, Wink News Now.
You have a lot of questions, and we are working to get answers after a stunning report yesterday detailing how a Punta Gorda police officer shot and killed a librarian during a training exercise.
NBC2's Tim Ronka talked to a firearms instructor who says the officer should have known that gun was loaded with real bullets and not blanks.
This is a .38 caliber revolver, much like the one that was used during the demonstration. We understand it was fired into the ground. If that was the case, firearms instructors tell us it should have been obvious if real bullets came out.
2 shots, and Mary Knowlton was gone. But now we know that the revolver had been test-fired into the ground. Yet no one seemed to notice that bullets came out.
And that should be doubled and triple checked.
11781.
We asked John Diesendorf at Fowler Firearms in Fort Myers about those test shots.
So you should be able to tell if it was a real bullet that came out of there.
You should be able to if you're paying attention to the actual shot.
He says gunfire would be obvious on most surfaces.
If you shoot into the ground, you can see the ground. If you're shooting into dirt, you'll see the dirt lift up. If you're shooting onto cement, you'll see, cement actually splatter.
The test shot appears to be just one of many mistakes that FDLE found. Another is that Lee Cole stored blanks with real ammo in the back of his car.
Very tragic. Evidently not enough education on the job.
In addition, interviews with other officers show they aren't sure Cole was using the right ammo during other training sessions either. Cole has been fired and is charged with first-degree manslaughter. An internal investigation is now underway. In Punta Gorda, Tim Ronka, NBC2.
I hope that we get justice through the law, but this could have tainted things also. You don't know how this is going to affect the outcome.
The son of a Punta Gorda library volunteer killed during a Citizens Police Academy class in Punta Gorda is speaking out tonight, one day after the city released investigative documents detailing the deadly shooting. Lee Cole shot Mary Knowlton last August with a gun that was supposed to be loaded with blanks. Instead, it had live ammunition. And he's now facing felony manslaughter and has been fired from his job. Police Chief Tom Lewis is facing culpable negligence in this case. He remains on administrative leave tonight. Now, meanwhile, the state attorney office is now at odds with the city of Punta Gorda, claiming that it may have jeopardized the case by releasing these documents. 4 in your corner, Stephanie Tinoco talking with Knowlton's son, getting perspective from a legal expert who's not associated with this case. Stephanie?
Well, Amy, I did, but first you're about to hear from Mary Knowlton's son, who tells me these recent documents released by the city has brought back memories of the tragic day.
There's one phone call etched in Stephen Knowlton's mind for life.
I got a call from my dad and said, "Mom's been shot. She's dead." And I just yelled, like, how did she end up on the other end of a gun?
A Citizen Academy class at the Punta Gorda Police Department took a deadly turn. Officer Lee Cole killing Knowlton's mother with live rounds from his personal weapon instead of using blanks during an exercise.
I was surprised that he was the one that was picked to play the role.
The city of Punta Gorda released hundreds of investigative documents Wednesday detailing the deadly shooting.
Were you told before these documents were released?
No, we were totally in the dark.
Knowlton found out after seeing a haunting image of his mother immediately after being shot aired on another news station.
That's a picture that will stay in my mind forever. I thought that was pretty heartless.
Knowlton says the state attorney's office said the immediate release of these documents may taint the outcome of this case.
I'm not sure what the motive was, but we were told by the state attorney and our lawyer that it wasn't done correctly, and the city shouldn't have put this report out right away.
I reached out to the city, a spokesperson sending me this statement saying they followed proper procedure and were cleared to release the documents in response to multiple records requests for the FDLE investigative information, adding they spent 3 days checking the records to make any necessary redactions, including statements from Chief Lewis, Officer Cole, or any pictures of the autopsy. Criminal defense attorney Stuart Pepper is not affiliated with this case.
So there's nothing wrong, like the city didn't do anything wrong by releasing these documents.
Not at all. Pepper says if these documents are public record, they're available to anyone, but tells me it's up to the lawyers to sift out jurors who can't render a fair verdict.
It's public record. It's best for the community to know what's going on at all stages.
Now, coming up at 6:30, Mary's son opens up about how these past 7 months have been and how Officer Cole has responded. That's again coming up at 6:30. Live in the newsroom, Stephanie Tinoco, Fox 4, in your corner.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. And we do want to hear from you on this one. Do you agree with Punta Gorda's decision to release this investigation to the public, or do you think it will compromise the case as the family worries tonight? Call or text us. It's 206 Fox 4, or you can email us news@fox4now.com.
News at 4, we're now learning new details about what happened moments before Mary Knowlton was shot during a Punta Gorda police training exercise.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement's investigation is now complete, and it found no evidence that Officer Lee Cole intended to shoot and kill Mary Knowlton. Wink News reporter Nicole Valdez is reading through the hundreds of pages of newly released documents and joins us in the studio. Nicole?
Amanda, Bob, these documents answer a lot of the questions that we've had since the beginning of this incident here. The FDLE report states Officer Lee Cole loaded the gun himself, and this was his personal gun, a .38 caliber revolver. It states that Officer Cole thought he was loading 4 blank cartridges into the gun, but he didn't know he actually loaded lethal ammo. Now, Knowlton was hit by 2 of the 4 bullets that he fired. Other 2 were lodged into a police car nearby. The shot that killed her hit her in the stomach. Now, people on the scene described Knowlton falling onto the pavement seconds after she was hit. She bent over at the waist, spun around, and fell to the ground, actually hitting her head onto the pavement there. These photos we're showing you are taken from the scene. You can see EMS was actually treating Knowlton at the exact time that these photos were taken. A lot of the law enforcement officers rushed to her side the moment they realized that this was not a part of the simulation. Now, Knowlton was given a gun, a simulation gun that was bright blue and used in these kind of training exercises. They say Cole's inability to differentiate between the blank cartridges and live ammo is what resulted in Mary Knowlton's death. Now, I want to show you a photo from the documents that we received today. This compares the bullets that Cole used versus the other bullets that were in his car that were blanks. These 2 boxes you can see right here clearly state that they are blanks, but that other box that we showed you right there does not say that it's blank. And now these are the 2 blank bullets here, and that is the one that Cole had lodged into his revolver and shot Mary Knowlton with. So that's the big focus of this investigation right now is who was at fault for not only loading the gun, but not being able to differentiate between these two bullets. Now, they were made by a company called CCI. The box labeled Blazer and ammunition. You notice the photos of the other two clearly stated that they were blank. The Blazer box does not. Now, this report mentions the bullets are similar in shape and size, but Wink News still has a lot of questions for the police department. We're going to follow up with this story coming up at 5. We will explain to you how Knowlton was chosen to participate in this scenario. Bob?
All right, Nicole, thank you. Officer Lee Cole's charged with felony manslaughter, and Police Chief Tom Lewis is charged with misdemeanor culpable negligence in connection with Knowlton's death. And you can count on Wink News for complete continuing coverage.
New details about how a police officer accidentally shot and killed a librarian. Today we learned the manufacturer of the bullets that Officer Lee Cole says he thought were blanks doesn't even make blanks. And now other officers are questioning if Cole used real bullets in previous training scenarios.
We just got those new pictures of the scene as well. NBC2 Samranka is live in Punta Gorda with the breaking new information.
We have spent the past few hours going through hundreds and hundreds of pages showing what happened that night. Overall, the investigation showing that Lee Cole was not able to differentiate the difference between real bullets and fake ones. For the first time, we are seeing pictures from that tragic night. You can see Mary Knowlton confronting Officer Lee Cole as part of the demonstration. And she keels over as she is shot by 2 bullets. A shocked Chief Tom Lewis then looks on as paramedics arrive 10 minutes later. New tonight, we have learned Lee Cole loaded 4 real bullets into his own personal revolver. The investigation shows Cole kept the bullets next to blanks in the back of his car. Interviews of fellow law enforcement show he used the ammo in previous training, but it's unclear if he ever loaded properly there. These documents are just one part of an investigation, as an internal review is still underway.
So we expect that that will really give us a good sense of what needs to be fixed and what possibly went wrong.
We also learned from the investigation that the bullets actually came from a fellow police officer, Lieutenant Katie Heck, who was actually the spokesperson for Punta Gorda Police. Her husband works for the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. He got the bullets there and had given them to Lee Cole several weeks before this had happened. Now, right now, Lee Cole has been fired by the Punta Gorda Police Department, and the chief, Tom Lewis, remains on paid leave. Live in Punta Gorda, Tim Branca, NBC.
Officer used personal gun in Punta Gorda Citizens Academy shooting. Punta Gorda, FL. Documents from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement contain new details in the accidental shooting death of Mary Knowlton at the Punta Gorda Citizens Academy in August 2016. FDLE surmised that Knowlton died because officers could not differentiate between blank and lethal bullets. According to the documents, Officer Lee Cole loaded his personal .38 caliber Smith & Wesson with bullets from his car. Cole kept different boxes of ammunition in his car, including a couple of boxes lethal Blazer ammunition and 3 boxes of Winchester blank bullets. Cole was given those bullets before by Lieutenant Katie Heck. Heck told investigators she thought she had given Cole the Blazer bullets and thought they were blank. Upon investigation, FDLE found out that Blazer does not manufacture blanks. Heck also told investigators that she got the ammunition from her husband, John Heck, who had the ammunition at their home. John works for the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. Investigators said they found Heck's fingerprints on one of the Blazer boxes inside Cole's patrol car. Citizens Academy training exercise. During the Citizens Academy, there were 4 groups for role-playing scenarios. Knowlton was part of the first group. She was set to play the police officer while Cole played the suspicious person. Cole put his gun on the front bumper of a police car while Knowlton had a loaded simulation training gun. She was supposed to confront Cole. During the role-play, Cole walked to the front bumper to retrieve his gun and fired 4 shots at Knowlton. According to FDLE, the Punta Gorda Police Department did not have a set policy on where officers were to aim a gun when conducting a simulation. But during interviews, Others in the department said they would aim at someone's feet. Knowlton was hit by 2 bullets, one in the abdomen and the other ricocheted off the car's hood and hit her in the elbow. Chief Tom Lewis, COLLIER and other officers rushed to help Knowlton, and paramedics arrived about 10 minutes after the shooting. Knowlton died at the hospital 46 minutes after the role-playing scenario began. The autopsy revealed Knowlton's cause of death as a gunshot wound to her torso. FDLE said they found no evidence that COLLIER intended to use lethal ammunition while participating in the exercise with Knowlton. Additionally, the inability of COLLIER and others to tell the difference between blank cartridges and lethal resulted in Knowlton's death. COLLIER was fired by the Punta Gorda Police Department last week after the state attorney's office brought charges of manslaughter. Chief Lewis was placed on administrative leave and was also charged with negligence.
All new on Wink News at 6.
The chief has been doing a PR campaign about, I'm open, I'm honest, anything you want to talk about. Well, he doesn't want to talk about these other incidents. He didn't release these other incidents until you had to go digging through like a madman to find them.
Wink News pushes to get memos from the Punta Gorda Police Department about Lee Cole, the cop who shot 73-year-old Mary Knowlton during a shoot-don't-shoot citizens demonstration back in August. These are memos that have never been made public before.
And tonight we'll tell you about the memo from an officer who trains other cops witnessing Lee Cole making what she basically calls a wrongful arrest. Wink News investigative reporter Dave Colbreth has the exclusive.
This sort of stuff should be unacceptable in any law enforcement agency.
He was a one-man wrecking crew in Punta Gorda, and nobody tried to stop him.
Is he fabricating things? Is he making things up just to make the arrest?
3 longtime Charlotte County attorneys, all who have also been prosecutors in their career, read this memo about an arrest made by Lee Cole, which the Punta Gorda police never released until Wink News spent a great deal of effort and hundreds of dollars.
Just shows that the Punta Gorda Police Department was hiding this stuff. Every news agency in the country was asking for these type of documents.
The memo really hit home for Steve Leskovich because it was about his client, Jacob Hill.
You always hear about corruption, but then to actually read it and know that it happens to someone you know is actually quite disheartening.
On June 23, 2015, Officer Bonnie Buckaloo sent this memo to the Punta Gorda police administrators.
They knew roughly 8 hours after this arrest.
Buckaloo, along with another officer, came upon Lee Cole, who had pulled Hill over for driving the wrong way on this one-way street. First, Cole had his dog sniff around the vehicle for drugs, but it did not detect any. After that, Cole said that he was changing hats and now going to try for a DUI.
He's fishing for something.
Buckaloo also wrote that Cole did not ask any of the related DUI questions and that she did not observe anything that would indicate an impaired driver.
Falling over, stumbling, no odor of alcohol, no bloodshot, watery eyes. None of that information is written anywhere in any of the reports.
Buckaloo summed it up by writing that Cole performed the requested sobriety exercises without any notable concerns, and that he probably should not have been placed under arrest.
It's shocking to read an officer's report that says another officer was seeking or finding a reason to make an arrest. Why is he even arrested?
Apparently, that's also what people in the state attorney's office wondered, because Wink News obtained these documents from them, where a prosecutor writes, I do not see how there was enough for a DUI arrest, and if that's out, then there's no probable cause to search.
I would bet $1,000 the state attorney had no idea that there was another officer on scene who believes that this was a false arrest.
So, the state attorney's office started playing Let's Make a Deal and said it would drop 5 of the 7 charges, including 2 felonies and the DUI.
DUI getting dropped? Almost never. I mean, it is a very, very rare circumstance.
I can count on one hand how many times a DUI has been dismissed prior to charges being filed. This is one of them.
When the state attorney's office offered to drop most of the charges, Jacob Hill pled to minor possession of weed and got out of jail immediately.
He pled to those because he was in jail for 35 days and he needed to get out. Who's not going to take that?
Wink News talked to Jacob Hill, who lost his driver's license for a whole year, his apartment, and his job.
And now when he's looking for employment, What shows up on his background? A DUI. Who the heck's going to hire somebody with that kind of record?
So, what did the Punta Gorda police do about this memo? It said it was successfully prosecuted with the means of a plea.
And I have to tell you this, any department that defines this as a successful prosecution, they should all resign.
Without asking, the Punta Gorda police also gave us emails saying things like, Buckaloo seems to have an obvious dislike for Lee Cole, stating to other officers that she refuses to acknowledge him or back him up on traffic stops.
She's one of their current own. She's part of the blue line. You don't cross it. She crossed it.
Would he have taken that plea had you known about this email, this memo?
Absolutely not.
When I talked with Jacob Hill, he said he came down here because he's a roofer and needed to work year-round. Well, after all this, he said no one would hire him, so he had to go back to northern Minnesota, and he said, try making a living there doing roofing in the winter. When we asked the Punta Gorda police for an interview, we were told the chief will not be providing an interview on the memo you referenced, continuing the public discussion of Officer Cole's work product prior to the conclusion of both FDLE's investigation and our own internal investigation is unfair and possibly improper on our end. That memo, as well as last night's story regarding those other memos, are on our website at winknews.com. Dave Culbreth, Wink News Now.
I think that that was a sign of just arrogance. I mean, you don't need to double and triple check yourself. You don't need to have other people double and triple check you. You don't have to have a procedure in place. You don't have to make sure. Like, all of those things just make me sick to my stomach.
On August 9th, 36 people watched as a Punta Gorda police officer shot and killed a woman during a Citizens Academy demonstration. Officer Lee Cole's still on paid administrative leave after the death of 73-year-old Mary Knowlton. But could it have been prevented?
Tonight, only Wink News has memos that were not in Cole's personnel file. After weeks of requests and hundreds of dollars spent, Punta Gorda police finally gave us those memos with allegations of bad arrests, insubordination, and policy violation. Wink News investigative reporter Dave Culbreth has the details.
Nobody should be running around this town with a gun and a badge with these type of allegations against them.
No self-respecting law enforcement agency that I've ever encountered should be tolerating this kind of behavior.
Those are two longtime Charlotte County attorneys. Both of them were shocked when I showed them these memos obtained by Wink News after the Punta Gorda police fought hard to prevent us from getting them.
Just shows that the Punta Gorda Police Department was hiding this stuff. Every news agency in the country was asking for these type of documents.
These new memos show Lee Cole's problems with the Punta Gorda police. But Cole's problems started in his rookie year with the Miramar police, where he was involved in 2 internal affairs investigations. This one, where he yanked a man out of the back of his cruiser. After just 1 year, Cole was forced to resign. He then applied for jobs at over 24 police agencies near Miami. Wink News obtained Cole's application files from most of them, who turned him down. So he then redirected his efforts to Southwest Florida, where the only agency interested in him was Punta Gorda. It was a year after he left Miramar when Cole was hired by Punta Gorda.
Miramar got it right. The other 25 police departments that refused to hire him got it right. Punta Gorda got it wrong.
Cole's personnel file with the Punta Gorda police shows many positive things he's done. But then there's these newly obtained memos that were not in his personnel file.
When you hire somebody that was asked to resign from a different police force, they should be on thin ice.
The first incident Wink News discovered is depicted in this memo. It was February 4th, 2015, when Cole accidentally discharged his taser at home. He was never disciplined.
To have an officer not check his taser before he does a spark test, that is Barney Fife stuff.
On October 23, 2015, a supervisor, Thomas Kagan, wrote this memo saying Cole was insubordinate to him and questioned his authority.
I think that him being insubordinate to his lieutenant seems to kind of go along with all of the other misconduct that he's alleged to have engaged in, because, you know, each one of those is kind of him being arrogant.
Then exactly 1 week later, Cole saw a man riding his bicycle at night without a light. The man wouldn't stop, so Cole sicked his dog on him. But Wink News has now learned from this email that there was what was called a community initiative in place, where officers were supposed to give warnings and free bicycle lights to people instead of arresting them. The Punta Gorda police ultimately settled with the man for $60,000, and over $120,000 worth of medical bills were written off by a hospital. The Punta Gorda police also hired an expert who determined that Cole did not do anything wrong.
I don't care what they say, you know, him allowing that dog to rip the chest wall out of a man who was driving without lights on a bicycle, that's insanity.
The dog bite issue got attention around the world, and Cole said he was receiving death threats. So he improperly accessed the state computer system to remove his name from public records. He got a slap on the wrist from Chief Tom Lewis, who, ironically, illegally accessed the same system himself 5 years earlier and got suspended.
As an attorney, I mean, the Florida bar would be smacking me around something fierce, because you can't just engage in constant misconduct. He's got 5 or 6 incidents of serious misconduct. He's still a cop.
We asked Punta Gorda police officials for an interview about this story, and we were told, quote, "The chief will not be providing an interview on the memos you referenced. Continuing the public discussion of Officer Cole's work product prior to the conclusion of both FDLE's investigation and our own internal investigation is unfair and possibly improper on our end." Now, after all of that, that's not the most egregious things these attorneys say Lee Cole has done. That involved a wrongful arrest. We'll have that tomorrow night in part 2 of this story. Dave Culbreth, Wink News Now.
Drugs and stuff like the German jails, they would have, we got 7, I'm a Canadian originally, we got 7 times more.
Will you do me a favor?
What's that?
If you want to record me, I have no problem with that.
Right.
But this is not a public building.
Last time we were here, we already discussed it. They said we could.
There are other people here that may not know that you're recording them.
Okay, last time I was here, I asked if I could record, they said yes.
I have no problem with it.
Right.
I believe the facility is probably in the same mindset as they
Yep.
were last time. But just out of common courtesy, let people know they're being recorded, please.
You're being recorded.
Well, everybody's here.
You have to let them know too. Are you running? He doesn't answer questions, I'm sorry. No.
You just did. You did. If you have any questions for me, you can talk to my attorney, Kevin Shirley.
I gotta meet Kevin, man. He's popular,
house.
man. He is popular.
No, but he was the lawyer for the guy that sold when I bought my house 18 years ago.
Mom, sit here next to you, buddy?
Yeah.
Anyhow, should be interesting. Good. You're from PUNTA GORDA?
Oh, did you meet him yet?
So am I.
No, tell me he was Canadian.
This is John Sertan. This is Ian. This is the guy that's doing all the filming, going for public records requests and stuff.
Oh.
They like him. They like him so much they trespass him.
They do. I'm very popular.
What was the latest video on? Looking for a trespass. Jim Mello.
Oh, Jim Mello was trespassed from some real estate office for causing a disturbance in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And
the only record you got was 2015. That was the one?
Yeah.
Oh.
But they were giving the other guy like a hard time about getting the record, so I had to go down there and straighten those things out with him.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom. And by the way, we tried to get L.A. Daniels and the black people to come today. I'm totally serious. Totally serious. I said let's meet here and have a conversation.
It's a shame.
It is. So.
The meeting's canceled. Maybe next month. It's gonna be same time, same place.
The meeting's canceled?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Well, we're the community.
Feedback from the Traby Woods community.
We can't be part of it.
You're not members of the Traby Woods community, no.
Oh my God, that's a good point.
You just told me a few minutes it's a meeting to discuss in the community, and now it's canceled.
Yeah. Wow. But seriously, I really appreciate you gentlemen.
No, but you told me a few minutes ago it's here to discuss a community discussion meeting, and now it's canceled.
Meeting's canceled, yes, sir.
Because I thought it was a community discussion meeting. That's what you told me a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we're members of the community. We like to be heard. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming. When will Cole face justice? Will Officer Cole ever face justice, Mr. Lewis?
That's a great point. Ask again.
Will Officer Cole ever face justice, Chief Lewis?
What about Officer? What about Tom Lewis? So what do you want to do? Go for coffee? Let's not waste the time. I'm shocked too, man.
He just told me
that you're going to have a meeting, right?
And I says, what is it about? And he says, it's just a community to discuss things in the community.
Right, he wasn't specific on which community, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
That community.
Exactly.
I says, what is it, about? And I says, well, that's great. That's what we should have.
It ain't worth it.
Okay.
Once they've got their mind made up.
All right, so what do you want to do? Let's not waste this. You want to do coffee somewhere or what? Harry, where's the closest place for coffee?
We could have just used this community center. We don't have to have anybody here. I can't figure out. This is a public place.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you don't even need any kind of permission to
Right.
I don't understand that.
He's supposedly saying I do have the right to film, but I'm supposed to let everybody know.
Don't believe that's true in Florida. God we trust part. I'd like to find out what God they're talking about.
That is true.
What kind of trust is that?
So Ian, let's not waste it. Let's do coffee somewhere. Wait. All right, so John, you want to do coffee somewhere then? Where's the closest? Hey, I'm shocked too. Totally shocked. I'm totally shocked, man. So what do you want to follow us or?
Yeah, I'll follow you.
All right, we're down here. I'm in the white convertible.
Okay, I'll follow you.
So where do you want to go for coffee? Let's not waste it.
Whatever you decide, it's service out with me. I'm just easy to get on with, man.
He just shut the meeting down. He said we're not from the community, so he canceled it. So let's not waste it. What you want to do? Let's do coffee somewhere.
I'd give it about 2 or 3 minutes. These two just showed up for the meeting.
I know. Well, now 2 black people just showed up from the community, so are they going to have a meeting? I know, that's why he said, maybe wait a minute. Oh, have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah.
Are you here for the meeting? What? Are you here for the meeting? Hey, I think we got a meeting, man. We got another one. Yep. Your door. Okay, he still canceled it? All right, can I give you my card then? Hey, the reason why I showed up and the reason why he's freaking out, I unfortunately experienced the corruption here myself. So 3 years ago, I started Charlotte County COPWATCH. I was the guy that was in the newspaper and all 3 channels where they illegally looked me up on the David system. Not to bring me flowers, but to do bad things because I'm exposing the corruption here. So that's why I think I'm shocked. He shut it down. So we need cops. You know we need cops. I know we need cops. We're trying to show people that we're here. You can hold them accountable. You can do different things. You know what I mean? Is it all right if I give you my business card? All right. So in 3 years, by the grace of God, I'm a Christian. The YouTube channel went nuts. 40 million views. 38,000 subscribers. In fact, I'll even give you my regular card. So I'm sorry that he did this. We seriously are here. We need police, but we were just here to let you guys know that we're here. If you ever have, if you ever need any help, investigate anything, or if you need a story put out, because internal investigations won't do anything. We were the ones that helped break the dog mall story. We're also the ones that did in Collier County, 7 sheriffs beat the crap out of a white guy. He was in the hospital for 3 days. We broke that story. So we really are trying. Okay. We're trying to help. And sorry that it shut. We are shocked that he just killed it like that.
Okay.
So what was your name?
Reverend Brown. Reverend Howard.
Please get a hold of me, man. You guys got a card? I'm shocked. I really, really am. This guy right here, John Surcan, he helps the homeless over in Charlotte County. So he's going to let you guys know that he's here too, so he helps people there. In fact, you know what's crazy? He's the one that's the guy that supposedly got away from the sheriff at the water and hung himself. That's his landlord. He knows the guy. This wouldn't have happened. Like the guy said, he knew the guy. He didn't hang himself. You know what I mean? 65? So, anyways, I'm sorry that it bombed out. All right. Oh, are we filming? He was supposed to be. That's what I told him.
Well, why don't you want to leave it up? I like Daniel.
Do you not value our opinion?
All right.
Is Officer Cole ever going to face justice, Mr. Lewis?
Why, who are you with? Just a regular person? That's fine. I don't answer questions.
One more regular person. Hey, Andrew, I wanted you to meet David. This is Vic's friend.
Okay.
Andrew. Who are you, a regular person?
No, I actually am. I'm
not a regular
person. Careful! Careful! Hey, let's not waste this. Let's do coffee. What's the closest thing to here for coffee? Here's my card. Because Sir Can's here and everything. You didn't even get to meet him. He helps the homeless in Fort Charlotte.
Oh, okay. How you doing? Hi. Hi. How you doing? Yeah.
Okay, where's the closest place for coffee?
See you later, man. It was a short meeting. Sorry, I didn't get more time.
I'm not sure. Let's go over here and we'll all talk.
All right, John, we're gonna discuss over here what we're gonna do. But be careful for those bike racks. You almost got it.